Okay, time now is 8:22 a.m. on October 25th. I slept from 3:20 a.m. to 8:20. I think I woke up at around 8 and decided to sleep 20 more minutes because, oh no, actually, last night right before bed, I decided to wake up at 8:20 instead of 8 because I realized the film starts at 10:30, which means I can sleep for a little more. But yeah, funny thing is I couldn't fall asleep at 3, even though I was so sleepy. I think it's just I'm just not accustomed to going to bed early, but yeah. I didn't watch Saw last night. I just gave up. After the meal, yeah. I still don't know when will Arjun come and pick me up. So I assume he's probably still sleeping right now. Um yeah. I'm excited for the two films today. I really am. And aside from these two films, I don't really have anything else to watch. Maybe some animes. Um, but uh, but yeah, I just hope my tongue heals. Um, and breakfast will be a bit of a problem because I don't know what to eat for breakfast, and I'm gonna be hella hungry after the screening. But I don't know what to eat at all. I mean, I will have food after I get home. It's just I'm just gonna be starving. Ugh. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm just glad the script is over and I can move on. Yeah. Yeah. Need to line up? Whoa, that's crazy.
Oh, there it is.
Oh. Auditorium 6.
Ghost Elephants, and we have the pleasure of also being joined by editor Marco Capalbo and executive producer Brian Nugent. To learn more,
Integral part of filmmaking right now, knowing that my voice and my idea.
As you know, we'll be around afterward for Q&A. The audience will be included as well after a certain while. I was asked to introduce the film. I will make it very short. Even though the film has been acquired by National Geographic, please do not expect a wildlife film. It's totally unusual that they acquired it. In the title you have elephants, but also please remember it also has the word ghost. It's a film about ghosts of elephants, the spirits of elephants, dreams of elephants, and you may or may see a few seconds of real elephants. So do not be disappointed. The film is trying its best anyway, so I'll see you afterward. Thank you.
producer Brian Nugent. All right. First of all, thank you all for the film. Werner, how did you find this quest, or did this quest find you? The quest for the ghost elephants.
It was a chain of coincidences. Didn't plan to make a film. a mutual friend of Steve Boyce and me one day called me and said, come down to this restaurant in Beverly Hills. Come quickly, within the next 20 minutes. There's a man you have to meet. So it was Steve Boyce. And he told me about what he was doing, and I immediately had the feeling this was going to be a film. And besides, I also had the feeling you do casting, not only in feature films, you do casting in documentaries as well. And I had the feeling he could be the protagonist. He has a certain charisma, a presence on screen, depth. And I decided not doing a film at that moment because he asked me, could you come to Namibia? There was filming going on since 2.5 years, but they didn't come up with much and didn't know how to deal with this whole thing, and if I could come as an advisor. So I said, okay, yeah, sounds fascinating. And I showed up in Namibia, and very quickly it was obvious I had to do some of the conversations right away. And it became very quickly apparent to a South African team, kind of competent, how they were filming, but what they were filming was unclear and murky. And I said, oh, please take over. And I said, I do not want to take a film from anyone. And everybody, including the South Africans, said, oh, please, that's finally somebody who knows how to do this right. Please continue. So all of a sudden I find myself with a film. And I loved it from the very first beginning. And then, of course, it was not really financed yet, and that's how Brian Nugent with Sobe Road stepped in. And of course, very early on, my editor Marco Capalbo got into it, also into the creation of music. Marco is also not only an editor, he's a composer and musician. He plays the cello, piano. And there was immediately a close collaboration with Ernst Reisiger, the composer. Maybe you can say a little bit about this collaboration.
Yes, and just
How you clicked, but somehow something convinced you to step up and risk a lot of money.
yeah, well, a member of my production team here in Hollywood knew Werner and introduced us, and we had a pretty interesting first few meetings where we were looking at different projects. The three of us came very close to getting involved in a Afghanistan war documentary that would have been pretty interesting. But Ghost Elephants was a pretty obvious choice to get involved in.
Great. So you were dealing with footage shot before you guys came on, plus footage you developed on the ground in Namibia and Angola. So taking all that footage together, how did you begin to shape the movies? Did you use music as a guide?
Well, there was not too much plan of a structure, and Marco and I always proceed in a way that we give the footage, the material, breathing space, as if we had found it somewhere in a garbage heap. Now what's there? And the story starts to emerge from the footage. It's not superimposed ideas and structures. And it's very pleasant to work that way. And with Marco, he understands. And because of this almost like found footage, it doesn't matter that there are foreign material in it, a little bit material before I came on board. There is footage, for example, of Afrika Adio, a film of 1966 that I remembered. I saw this film at the time, which was even then completely controversial, and it's an absolutely racist film. And there were long discussions, should we take footage from there? But yes, we did, because irrespective of the racism and I mean, it's not a very pleasant film, Africa Dio, but yet you wrestle it out of a film like that, because the footage itself is so unique and so significant that you just wrestle it, even if it were from the claws of the devil, you wrestle it away.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking footage from that film. So there's this one moment in the movie, the slow motion sequence of the elephants underwater, and that strikes me as one of the most overtly poetic scenes of the film, and it's also one of the scenes where it's not anchored in a place. We actually don't know the location, whereas so much of the movie is telling us. Oh, maybe it's not slow motion, maybe it's just wavy.
Well, yeah, we believe that it's not slow motion, because underwater an elephant would walk very slowly, same you would walk kind of slowly, and they're grazing in a shallow lake, and there's some sort of seaweed or lotus weed, and they browse, they feed, and the filming itself was apparently quite primitive, of a cinematographer wading in the water close to the elephant. They don't feel threatened. I mean, it's an attitude, and you are calm and you slowly approach, but when somebody is in water with an elephant, they are not attacking you, but they didn't attack anyone. And it's a camera on a stick held underwater, and that's basically it.
Well, besides for the ghost elephants, where we get 30 seconds of them, those are the only elephants featured in the movie from your footage, besides for the Italian film.
Except the Smithsonian stuffed elephant.
The stuffed elephant,
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just curious, obviously there was footage of elephants that weren't the ghost elephants, but that was the only footage you guys included was the underwater sequences. Were you trying to hold back our relationship to the elephants in order to make those fleeting glimpses more impactful?
You said we hold back the images of the elephants. We don't use so many in the footage.
No, it's there's no real plan or no calculation about effect or so. Finding the real elephants was very late in the shoot, so it was evident it would come towards the end. But the flow of the narration is always built in a way that you as an audience can somehow take distance from the film, and you would be able to create a separate, distinct story which is only happening in the audience. I can explain it with, for example, a romantic comedy. We watch a romantic comedy, the young lovers have one obstacle after the other, are forcefully separated then, and then all of a sudden we as the audience start to develop the parallel film. Meaning, we create an idea, how would we get them together, and how will there be a happy end, and we start to create the happy end in our heads, and then all of a sudden we catch up with the film again. And there are moments like this, for example, when the first very disappointing video is taken. I have two of the hunters just singing, working on an arrow, and the other one playing with a string of the bow. And it's time out. I allow you time out. And you, as an audience, you start to develop the story. What could happen now? Where are these? Are these elephants for real? And that's how we proceed.
In the film Grizzly Man, you sort of famously say you don't recognize any kinship with the bears. In this film, you allow your subjects to allude to a kinship with elephants both at the beginning of the film and the ending.
Well, you are referring to Grizzly Man, Timothy Treadwell, the protagonist who was trying to protect grizzly bears for 11 seasons, summer seasons, by getting very, very close, way too close to them. And it's not really protection of a gigantic grizzly man to stand 3 feet away from it. So you just don't do that. And tragically, he was killed and eaten by a bear together with his girlfriend. And he always speaks about becoming a bear or becoming a wild creature, and sees a kinship and starts to sing songs to the bears. And I think it's a tragic misunderstanding of what wild nature is. And we have lost this attitude and this understanding of wild nature. And I contradict in the film Grizzly Man. I do have an ongoing argument with the protagonist, who was already almost a year dead by then. And still I have an argument with him, and I say I do not see kinship. I see only a cold disinterest, a cold interest in food or something like that. And same thing with elephants. Yes, I really like elephants, and I like grizzly bears, by the way, as well. Elephants. It's strange. You get when you get very close to elephants, you have the feeling not of kinship, but of a connected fate. If they disappear, I'm worried we are gonna disappear as well. But otherwise, I don't want to read too much into it. You see it at one point in the film. I posed a question: do we learn anything from the ghost elephants? And Steve Boyce immediately says, "No, I'm not learning anything," because what was previously happened over the 2.5 years in the first proposals in treatments of it was, knowing the elephants, we start to know ourselves. Bullshit. No, we do not know ourselves, but by encountering elephants. And I always contradicted that, and it's in a way a reflection of previous attempt to deal with the subject. No, we do not learn anything from the ghost elephants.
I'm going to open up to the audience. After you ask your question, I'm going to say your question, repeat your question in the microphone. Right here.
Is this a continuing story? Is the evidence that they've gathered from the DNA and that they're analyzing it used to Riverside something that we're going to learn more from? Like if they were specifically related, the giant elephant in the Smithsonian and the one that they have?
The question is if this is a continuing story, if we're going, still more is going to be revealed from the genetic tests that were done on the elephants.
Well, in principle, the story is not over. And Steve Boyce has been back in Angola, and they took about 60 or 80 new photos with these motion sensor cameras. And of course, scientific research is ongoing. Just 3 weeks ago, I was at Stanford, showed the film to the Stanford people who are researching into the DNA, and they have some preliminary findings. We probably will have to change the last caption, which appears in writing. And Steve Boyce said, let's put it into it, but each time I think it costs a lot of money to create a new master thing, and we were quite adamant with Steve Boyce. We said we are going to formulate the text of the caption in the very last moment before the film is going to be published widely, and it will be streaming, a big streaming Disney Plus, and it will be in March. So shortly before the streaming, we will create a final sort of statement, and it will reflect pretty much what the final findings of the DNA research is going to be.
All right, so check in for the complete story. Right here in the center.
I came from Oklahoma to this festival, especially to see you, and I wanted to know.
Basically ticking the same way, and since my films are always subject or story driven, I have to go to Angola or to Namibia for a film like that, so the distance is irrelevant. I have to go to the Amazon jungle for moving a ship over a mountain in Fitzcarraldo. But you see, people are always asking, how much effort it took and how much willpower and how far would I go. I'm very cautious, and I keep telling young filmmakers, I always tell them, dream big, but do the doable. So what I do has always been doable. And this is why I always finished my films. Even a film that was very hard to create, Fitzcarraldo, was finished because I knew it was doable. A ship can be moved, although there's no precedence in the history of technology. So I had to invent the technology, but it's based on solid experience with heavy objects. And you also seem to hint here that I am a person who doesn't accept no as an answer. That's completely wrong. If there's a no that makes sense, I immediately would accept it. Immediately. And I've done it very, very often. For example, Death Row, I made a series of films on death row in Texas and in Florida. And I was just about traveling to Texas next morning with a small team to film an inmate who was going to be executed 8 days later. And his attorney sent me an email and then called me on the phone, and he said to me, Mr. Herzog, I'm the attorney of my client. We have a last appeal for clemency going on. I'm only the attorney. I only can advise my client what to do. And my client has agreed and wants to do the conversation on camera. But I've had the experience that my client says unwise, controversial things, and it may jeopardize the success of the last clemency appeal. And you know what? It didn't take a second that I canceled the shooting. So you just don't shoot in such a case. It was not even a no, it was a very friendly, cautious hint of a no. And I got the message.
I'd like to add to that for you and anyone in the audience. There's a great documentary film called Burden of Dreams, which is about the making of Fitzcarraldo. It was recently remastered, both the sound design and uprev to 4K, and we actually screened it at the Academy down the street earlier this year in Werner's honor. But that film will give you 2 hours of the lengths to which this incredible filmmaker will go to make a movie. It's incredible.
Up there to the right.
Noticed that he's an ornithologist. I'm wondering how an ornithologist becomes interested in pachyderms.
how does an ornithologist become interested in pachyderms?
He did his doctoral dissertation, worked on it in Botswana, in his wetlands, and he spent 3 or 4 years in a colony of parrots, studying behavior of parrots. 4 years surrounded by elephants, and befriended or became somehow habituated to elephants, and then from his studies as an ornithologist, he has been an advocate of endangered species, endangered bird species, endangered mammals. So it was apparently a very natural evolution for him to do this kind of research on the ghost elephants. But I'm just trying to describe him. I don't know him that well. We spent some time in Africa filming, and that was that. And we met quite a few times afterwards. And I do believe it's fairly easy to understand how he morphed from an anthropologist into a man who is into ecology and protection of species.
I think what you see in the film is literally a week at the office, or in this case, several months. But I mean, I got messages from Steve yesterday morning, woke up to 15 images, fresh images of elephants and lions and other species out there that he's pursuing. So what you saw in film, that's his life, and it will continue until the day he dies, trying to protect those species.
Yeah, but I would like to add something else. He just a few days ago was in Dubai together with a friend, our mutual friend Richard Snyder, who got us into the mess. And Richard Snyder is a great advocate of protection of species and landscapes and life on Earth. And what is stunning is that Steve Boyce was in Dubai as well, and he's promoting what he's doing, and he's trying to find sponsors. It was about ecology and sponsors of that. He goes out, meets these people, the very wealthy people somewhere in Saudi Arabia, or Doha, or Dubai, God knows where, and somehow channels money into very, very good research and very good protection programs. And we see that, for example, in Angola, he has 12 or so Land Rovers and 2 trucks that are even protected against landmines, and motorcycles. And that's all Steve Boyce's own making and own efforts to find the finances. So he's much more than a scientist.
We have time for one more question. Let me get up top here in this center. Yes, you.
Thank you. Your movie was stunning, absolutely beautiful. Can you hear me? Your movie was stunning, absolutely beautiful. I was actually even more intrigued by the relationships between Steve and the trackers. Could you talk a little bit about how they connected and how they interacted and how the trackers responded to Steve when he got there? Do you know?
Question was about the relationship between Steve and the trackers and how they got along.
Well, they know each other for a long time, for 8 or 10 years or so, off and on. He would be around there. The more interesting question maybe is, how do I deal with these trackers? Because I come in and I meet Kui for the first time in front of my camera. I mean, I shook his hand and told him that I was a filmmaker and from Bavaria and from the mountains and so. And I said, "Can you step in the camera? Let's film." And you see, the very first moment I met him, when I ask him in your language, you're real people, am I still half an animal because I have hair on my chest? So I had to, from 1 second to the next, I had to find the right tone to make him laugh, to reveal his heart to the camera. So it's easy if you have 10 years time. I had 10 seconds. Tell the writer, you tell us.
Well, only that it was a great delight that Qui, the main tracker, I guess, that we see, was able through Steve Boyce's efforts to join us at the American premiere at Telluride last month in September. And that was really something for all of us. I've always found as an editor, I know these people only through the screen. I don't show up in Angola. It's hard for me to leave the house, you know. So, but the Qui was there was wonderful, and he took to it. He gave a long speech in his native language, which nobody could translate, but it was a great delight.
And the audience loved it.
Well, thank you all so much for showing the film.
Fuck. 6:37.
On the page. I rather need.
Okay, we made it. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. It's just a strange thing doing this. Thank you so much for coming to see the film. I know I'm not really supposed to do this, but it is, something that is hard to watch.
Thank you both so much. I'd like to start with you by asking if you could tell us a little bit about just the genesis of this really important film.
Well, thank you all again for being here. I know Kauthar would love to be here, our director, but the reason she's not here is actually she's shooting another film. And that's the film that we were working on together when this incident happened, and she heard the little voice of Hind, the little tiny bit that was released in the news cycle. It moved her, and I had gotten to know her during her last film, 4 Daughters, which was extraordinary, and I just wanted to work with her. I was passing through Paris to discuss this other film, and she said, well, I have this idea. And at that point, she had contacted the Red Crescent, and every news organization contacted them and asked them for the audio of the little girl, because they knew the event happened over a 3-hour time period, but they didn't want to release it to the news cycle. And it turns out that the head of the Red Crescent is a bit of a cinephile, and he had seen 4 Daughters actually, and she just talked to him about film as a medium to tell stories versus the news cycle, and he agreed to let her listen to this audio that they had, which was about 78 minutes long, the portion that they'd recorded with Hind's voice. And she after listening to it, also spoke to the mother for many hours, because obviously when you're dealing with an audio of a child that's no longer there, the mother and her conversations and the permission from the mother was an essential part before even thinking about making the film. And that's when we sat down for lunch, and she said she'd just listened to this audio, and I knew the story also as I'd been following what was happening, and we just said, let's do it. And it was a really fast thing. We just started working on it. I think it was in March of 2024, I guess, right? We shot in November and premiered at Venice in September.
Clara, I would love to know what your reaction was like being approached about this film and how you felt, working on this.
Good evening. Thank you for making the time to be here. We really appreciate it. I was frustrated as a mother, as an artist, since October 7. I was grieving. I didn't know what is my role as a human being and what am I doing as an artist. It was a rough first year, and by August 2024, I had a text from Kauthar, who I admired, and I've been following her work for so many years, and I always wished to work with her, and it just happened. I live in Northern California with my 2 kids and a partner, and I live on a farm. I left Palestine 15 years ago because I wanted to create a better future for my kids, and I wanted to live in peace. And this film came as a gift, as a tool, as a vessel to express myself as an artist, and I feel that this is our mission, as human beings, to make art that matters and speak up to the people's heart and speak up for justice too. Thank you.
Clara, I would like to continue asking you a little bit about, specifically with your performance in the film, playing this psychologist who's there to help the aid workers get through their day. What kind of prep work did you do? I understand that you guys did work with the actual Red Crescent aid workers on that. So how did you prep for the role? And I'm also just curious what the atmosphere was like on that set.
Good question. All of us, the actors, we spoke to the real characters, and we did our research, and we had long phone calls with them. Me specifically, I spoke to Nasreen. Nasreen is a psychologist, and she is in charge of the emotional support at the Red Crescent for all the aid workers. She's a story by herself, all her. Of course, I spoke to her and I learned her life story, and to be in such a film, it's not like I can use my actor method or imagination to create this character, because she already exists. She's still working there. She's still facing so many stories every day. So I felt that I have a huge responsibility to mirror who she is and to honor who she is. And we all, when we went to the first day of shooting, we We studied the script, but we never heard her voice.
Meaning Hin's voice.
Hin's voice. So the first day of shoot was the first time we heard her voice.
Kowsar, you say that?
Yeah.
Kowsar did this thing where she didn't want anyone to hear Hin's voice until the camera was rolling.
Exactly. So the reactions were, you forget that you're acting because you're hearing a real voice of a little girl. Even though, there's cameras and, there's the technicalities around it, but it's like you connect to your heart immediately. You have to live the moment. I don't think we were acting even.
And actually not only just Hin's voice, but the real Nesreen's voice was also...
she was merging.
We're just finalizing the website to raise money for the Palestinian Red Crescent. They're so underfunded. Everyone there is a volunteer. All the money goes towards trying to get medical supplies and aid into Gaza, and they've lost so many workers. So the whole impact campaign is going to be driving, doing different initiatives to try and raise money for the Palestinian Red Crescent.
Okay, Okay, time now is 1:20 a.m. in the morning. Holy shit, when is it gonna end? So, yeah, Okay, yeah. Oh. Ugh. So yeah, today I didn't sleep a lot. I woke up after about 5 hours of sleep, 5.5. But I went back to bed 2 more times. I went back to bed at around for about 20 minutes, and then I went back to bed for about 10 minutes. I thought Arjun would pick me up at 8:30, but instead he decided to pick me up at 9:30. So I didn't have to wake up that early. But yeah, after quick breakfast, which is basically toasted pumpkin bread, I headed out. Arjun picked me up. He drove us to Chinese theater. We were about 15 minutes early to the screening, and the theater was nearly full already, but we still got a couple of good seats. We sat down. It's my first time at Chinese theater, and I was glad that my first time at AFI Fest, I'm with someone so that I'm not confused on where to go. But then at the same time, it's my first screening at Cannes Film Festival, I went completely alone. And it worked. I somehow figured it out. But anyways, we watched the film Ghost Elephants, and it is good. But not gonna lie, there were so many moments where I was nearly falling asleep. Until the last half of the film. And I feel really bad. Usually, I fall asleep more during night screenings. So when I start falling asleep in morning screenings, this is a huge issue. So I'm really fucking sleep deprived. To be honest, the last time I had a full night's sleep was Tuesday. And then for a few days in a row, I've been constantly sleep deprived. But yeah, Werner Herzog Q&A, I wish I could be more excited about this. I mean, Werner Herzog is a freaking legend, so to be in the same room as he is just wonderful. But yeah, it's great. had a great time, and then Arjun drove me home. I brought up my short film idea to Arjun about him potentially producing, but because I don't have a script, I don't have a pitch deck, I don't have anything. After I explain it out loud, it feels like the most impossible short film ever. Because this is a big short film and I want it to be $7,000 to $8,000 in budget, there's a lot of risk going into it, which means I can't fuck around, which means it's best if I permit things, it's best if I, do things legally and obey rules. But the problem is, Jesus Christ, the problem is this is going to be the most rule-breaking film I'll ever be doing so far. So suddenly the entire concept feels idiotic, and suddenly I don't want to do it. Or not that I don't want to do it, it's just like, maybe it's a stupid idea. So yeah, who knows? But I gotta finish the script first, which I haven't even started. I'm so fucking tired of writing scripts. But anyways, Arjun drove me back to his place, and then for 10 minutes I walked back to my place, and then I had about 3.5 hours to have lunch, chill, etc. I had noodles again. So 3 days in a row for lunch I had noodles because of my extreme noodle craving. And it's nice. And then, back in Hong Kong, if I eat noodles 3 days in a row, I would complain. I would be like, what the fuck? Noodles again? But now, just keep it coming, man. I'm just happy there's food. But yeah, and then I was gonna do my pitch deck for my click to view film, which again, like the more I do it, the more I'm like, it seems like a stupid idea. Maybe I should take a rest, because like after 290, I was like, I'm not gonna direct anything for the rest of the year. Yeah, well, so I don't know. I want to take a rest, but this is fun. This is interesting. So we'll see. And I gotta do it by like tonight, because tomorrow is the last day to submit a pitch, and tomorrow people need to decide. So anyways, there's that. So I'm gonna do that like right now. And then that's pretty much it. And then my next screening, which is The Voice of Hin Rajab, starts at 8:45. Right. No. I fucking forgot. It starts at 6:45. Was it 8:45 or 6:45? 6:45. And at 5:20, I was like, okay, I'm gonna check what time, because I think it takes about an hour for me to get to the Chinese theater. So I thought 5:20 would be a good time to check my transit app. I checked. Turns out I need to leave immediately, right now. So I left immediately, and I missed the bus. But it's okay, I waited 10 more minutes. I took the next bus, went to the metro, and I waited 10 minutes at the metro. So Camden DM'd me, because Camden's also going to Hin Rajab, and I was like, hey, maybe we could meet up for Hin Rajab. And then Camden's like, okay, I'm getting food right now. At that point it was 6:20 p.m. I'm getting food right now, hope I'll make it in time. And I'm like, great, I'm still waiting for the metro. And he's like, wow, damn, good luck. And miraculously, I was able to make it in time. I arrived at the theater 5 minutes before the screening. I was even like running, but turns out it's not that bad. There were still like quite a few seats by the time I arrived. But yeah. So Camden didn't make it. Camden had a headache, and didn't make it to the screening. And he's busy eating food. So I ended up, somehow, I got into the theater faster than him, and I watched the film, and I cried. It was devastating, and there was a Q&A, and I was sniffing. There was so much snot coming out of my nose. But it is a very powerful film. And then I took the metro back home. That took like an hour. And I just had dinner. So my plastic spatula and the little glass cup, and no one washed it. So I'm like, fine, fuck it, I'll wash it myself. So I washed it, but that's really fucking pissing me off. It's the third time someone used my shit and I had to wash it as if I'm some kind of janitor. So I'm hiding those things inside my rice cooker now, which means if people want to steal it, they need to take the extra effort. So yeah, someone else cleaned the sink and washed everything from inside the sink, but that wasn't even what I was referring to on my post-it note. But yeah, who cares? So I'm too tired. So I hope it never happens again. But yeah, so that's it. I want to sleep early. I want to go to bed at 2 a.m., but it's already 1:30, so maybe not. I just gotta finish this pitch deck and then spend a little time editing my short film. And that's pretty much it. We're like a few days away from Halloween, like 5 days away from Halloween, and I realized that last year I got to enjoy Halloween because of Rachel and Franklin, but they're both kind of gone now, and I don't really have anyone, and I feel like I should enjoy my last Halloween in my college life, unless I go to grad school, but I feel like that's a different thing. So I don't know, I kind of want to ask Colin and Garrett, but I feel like I'm still not close to them, which is fucking crazy, because I've known them for over a year, and, I feel like if I'm friends with Jayun now, if I'm close with her now, she would have taken me somewhere, but unfortunately not. So ironic. Last Halloween I met Jayun, this Halloween we're strangers again. Empires rise and fall. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited for tomorrow. Silent Friend and Testament of Anli. Andrew Wu actually texted me asking me if I'm free tomorrow by any chance, because their art director dropped out, and I'm like, I can't. It's super last minute. I have 2 screenings. I can't do it. And also, I need to take a break from film sets. I texted Eris Baker, and Eris Baker locked in the days for her shoot, which is November 14th, 15th, and 16th. And Madison, I texted her. Turns out she's now only free on the 22nd and the 23rd. So, great, no one's helping me again. And I thought Madison would be of great help because she's black. And there are probably cultural things that I wouldn't get as a PD, but she would get. Because she's black, and the story is about black love. So I feel bad now. I need a black person to, like, help me, because I'm culturally not enriched enough to do this, okay? So that's a big shame. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Not much else. Haven't really thought much about Jayun, and again, I feel kind of. It's interesting that, like, the Samantha Kwan day, I still talk to Jayun a little bit, like, Jayun still texted me, and it's really fucking funny that, you know, there's this extra bit of, like, talking. Like, even after Leslie, the whole thing went down on my birthday, she still said happy birthday to me, and I said a couple things to her. Like, there are always these little, like, trail offs where you get a little extra something after the big, after the big ending. But, I don't fucking know, man. I might want to hang out with Audrey the Asian girl on Tuesday. And You know, in a different world, maybe I would be super excited about this. But honestly, I'm not. Maybe it's because I'm grieving. I'm still kind of coming out of grief because of Jiren, because of the loss of Jiren. Maybe it's also because Audrey the Asian girl, she's just not my type at all. You know, she's a cool friend, but I don't feel anything right now. But I hope I do, because then things would have been simpler, you know? I just hate feelings. And you know, earlier today, or I think yesterday, Matt Chan's girlfriend, Francesca, made an Instagram story about how much she hates the male loneliness epidemic and how much she hates losers. And I feel attacked because I feel like a loser, and I feel like I'm one of the most affected members of the male loneliness epidemic. And I get it. Francesca's like on the other side of the spectrum. She's a hot white girl who likes socializing and partying and getting naked and being extremely confident and social and being loved and appreciated. And I'm like the opposite of that. You know, we're both artsy people. It's just I'm like the opposite side of that. I'm like a loser guy. And you know, it's not like I'm an incel. It's not like I'm actively avoiding people and like, you know, not taking showers and being mean and misogynist and, you know, no, I go out, I talk to people, and I feel like I'm getting better and better at it. You know, the fact that in the Star Wars line, I could just, or like the George Lucas line, I could just walk the line and I would run into people I know is proof that I have connections now. It's just that this sense of loneliness and this sense of aimlessness is still haunting me in some form, you know. And it sucks. I also DM Colin today. I don't think Colin checks his Instagram that much anymore, because I just want to like know him more. Like the same way Jiren made me open up, and the same way I study Jiren. I want to study more people, and Colin's one of them. I want to study Maisie. I want to study people that I've met briefly, or like I know for a while, but I just don't know. Because instead of knowing more people, I just want to know the same people, but deeper. And I feel like there are just so many interesting, weird people that I want to open up the same way Jiren opened me up, and I open her up, hopefully. I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Super tired, and can't wait for Monday because I get to sleep. I thought Monday's sentimental values. Turns out that's next Monday, which is great news because I want to just sleep that day. Yeah. Okay. Time now is 9:14 a.m. On October 26th. I slept from 4:30 a.m. to 9. Yeah. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me last night. I couldn't go to bed early. So yeah, I feel terrible right now. I can't wait for tomorrow so that I could just sleep. Yeah. I'm also going to be spending a lot of time on public transportation today. Yeah. I need coffee. Okay, I'm so tired. Holy shit. the new Hong Sang-soo.
AFI member, so please visit our website at afi.com for more details on that. Before we begin today's presentation, we just have a few people we need to thank. First, our sponsor.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for being with us, being with our film. You will see experiments, researchers, science, which is, I just want to assure you, even if it's a feature film, is approved by experts and scientists. But this film doesn't want to be some sort of lesson. It's rather about the beauty and the freedom of research, science, and it was made to be enjoyed. So.
Searching for shelter somewhere far from broken.
Thanks so much for being here and sharing this incredibly beautiful film with us. We are going to open it up to the audience, so please start thinking of what you might like to ask. First, I'm going to start. You mentioned at the introduction this is a film about science, and science is about research and discovery. So I was wondering if you could tell us about your how you discovered the story and your research process for making the film.
Well, it goes back a very, very long time to my teenage years. From the age of 17 to 19, I spent 2 years in the south of France, early 70s, post-68 university as a high school student with a special permission. It was a mind-blowing experience to see that sort of very genuine, although of course naive faith that we can really rethink the frames of our life, and is very much portrayed after my husband, and it is practically alone on this campus. So he has, even if he wanted, he has no real possibility to express himself, what is inside him. We can just guess. That's why I asked especially Tony Leung for this role, because I knew that his presence is so meaningful and so full of secrets. Nevertheless, in one moment I wanted to show indirectly how much passion, emotions are behind this very silent surface. In a way, he is the other silent friend in the film, beside the tree. And I was looking long for a music.
We're back in this station, boys. This is the third time I've been here since yesterday. Fourth film. Okay. Damn. Whoa.
Tickets out too, right? Tickets out.
Damn. I'm like 20 minutes early.
Yeah, those are the Chinese letters that you need. But
he's in this movie. Yeah.
That's awesome. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the final day of AFI Fest 2020. Producer Andrew Wilson and actor Liz Coleman. Welcome to all of you. Congratulations on the miracle of making a film. Anytime I see a film these days, I think these are minor miracles that they exist, and it's a feature film on the big screen. It just feels like such a gift. So thank you so much. This is not easy work, so we see that, so thank you. So Mona, we got to look as a protagonist, and what motivated you to want to share her story? It feels like a niche story, but in essence it is not a niche story. It's very amplifying about the role of women in spirituality. So tell me about that.
Well, I think that, well, first of all, thank you all for being here and for that lovely introduction. That was very sweet. But no, I think that the first thing that really struck me about Anne Lee's story is perhaps something that also resonates a bit with the story of Laszlo Todd. It's about, in The Brutalist, I think I am one of the people who attempt impossible things. And I think that what Anne Lee, her idea of female leadership, maternal leadership, this idea of utopia, is this impossible thing that really spoke to me as an artist as well. Why do we try and make these things? As you said, this was very hard to make. The previous one was very hard to make. The ones before that were even harder.
They're going to continue to be difficult. I have
they probably
not here. We wish she were, but I do want to acknowledge this is the work of her career. I mean, this is truly the performance of a lifetime, and it's just, I can't say enough about her work. So congratulations to Amanda. And Andrew, you were also part of the Brutalist team. Congratulations to you on all your accolades that you deservedly earned last year. And I thought about these two movies today. In some ways, they're related. They feature people who are seeking freedom and who've sort of been cast away from Europe. And I'm curious, what did you learn making The Brutalist that you were able to apply here? And what couldn't be applied here? How did this feel like a wholesale reinvention of producing?
Yeah, I think a lot of what we learned on The Brutalist, we then pushed even further here. So they were both very hard movies. This is an entirely independently made movie. It's a $10 million movie that we, had to figure out how to get made like $250,000 at a time. So it was an incredible.
So how did you do that? Because I know a lot of people in the room are like, how do you fund a movie? So we would welcome any insight you have.
Well, it's a lot, we made a teaser for this movie, so we shot in Massachusetts, like a pre-shoot for 2 days. We choreographed a piece, Celia did a piece for it, Daniel did a song for it, Amanda came and, we got caught in the snow and our trucks broke down and all those fun things. But at the end of it, we had, a couple minutes to show like what this film would be, and those minutes ended up in the movie. And then we showed that to everyone to say, hey, look, this is what the total art will be. And we gave them a script, and almost everyone passed. And and then we.
So essentially, a proof of concept that you were able to send people for look and feel and tone.
Yeah. I think, but you have to do it as something that you truly is part of the movie. I think it's important. Like if we shot on 35 millimeter, we really.
We just started making making the movie, and then tried to find people who wanted to make it with us, and then and also it's an ambitious, bold, visionary idea and film, thanks to Mona, and so it's easier to sell that. It's like we're trying to make radical, impossible cinema in an era where that's becoming harder and harder and harder. So for the right people, that's an exciting pitch because you get to be part of something that.
It's only the true believers are on board.
Yes.
And tell me about the research aspect of assembling the story, both from the writing side, but also just making sure that everything was accurate while allowing yourself some artistic license. But this is a very unique period of time in the world. Unique clothes, unique production design, the furniture, etc. How were you researching this and then you sort of being able to weave this into the script? So maybe either one of you.
Well, I mean, it's such a joy to do this kind of research for me. Like, I just love it. It's so great. So I spent years just diving into this part of history, And you know, obviously, I think most people are familiar with their incredible design. You know, the boxes and the chairs and the peg rails, and you know, even that this is sort of like the cornerstone of American design. Really is shaker furniture, shaker design. So that is really available. But the rest of Anne Lee's story, certain parts of her life, there's only a sentence or just a few little bits and pieces that are available, and then you have to fill in the blanks by, you know, studying Manchester at the time and how people lived and how, you know, and sort of drawing from that. But then after you do all that research, you also have to kind of let it go as you write. You say, no, I'm telling the story now. This is my story. I wanted to end fully in what we know as the shaker aesthetics, which is not really, that came a little bit later, so that's some, you know, took some creative liberties there. And then other little bits and pieces where it's also just, this is now me telling a story from my perspective. So.
Okay, time now is 4:14 a.m. Yeah, this is really bad. Okay, my king are sore. So yeah, I'm not gonna talk too much because I'm really tired. My tongue hurts and it's really late. I slept for 4.5 hours today, which is not ideal at all because I need to watch 2 films and I really don't want to be falling asleep at movies anymore because almost every film screening I attend these days, I somehow fall asleep to some extent. Except for After the Hunt, I was completely awake for that, but literally everything else, every other film, I'm like falling asleep. Aside from Queer Panorama and Green Snake. But yeah. So it's really tough. And today I really thought that I'm gonna be solo for the entire day, but much to the contrary, I'm not. But it is true that I spent maybe about 3.5 hours or 4 hours today in total on public transportation. At when was it? At 9:45 or I think 10, I left my apartment, took a bus, walked to the bus stop, and then took a bus to the Wilshire, Vermont, took a metro to the Chinese Theater. And I was quite early. I was like 25 minutes early to the screening. I arrived at the Chinese Theater at around 10:40 or 10:45. But yeah, yeah. I'm getting distracted. I'm sorry. Hold on. Okay. Yeah. My Thanksgiving break is 1 week long. Okay, anyways. I digress. Justin T is talking to me. But anyways, yeah. So I was there early and I thought of going to the nearest Coffee Bean and buying a cup of coffee because I really needed to stay awake. And also I had a pineapple bun this morning, which is nice, but I wanted to drink something along with it. But I realized I don't have time, so I ended up buying coffee in the confectionery. The confectionery? The confessory? I don't know what the fuck I'm saying. At the Chinese Theater. And I went to the bar and ordered a cup of coffee. I added a creamer and 2 sugars. And I feel like an adult, man. I'm just going into the theater and somebody's like, "You're here to watch film?" And I'm like, "Yes." And I look like I'm just some kid, but I'm not. I'm a USC film student. I went to Cannes, you know? I have a QR code ready and I'm ordering coffee and I'm watching a film. Like, I'm so fucking... I am standing on business. Yeah, I got my cup of coffee, I went in, and I found a pretty good seat. I sat down and I watched Silent Friend. The coffee's really mid. It tastes like film set coffee. It tastes exactly like film set coffee. very cheap coffee. I kind of wish I went for coffee bean or something. But yeah, before the film starts, I saw Matt. I saw Matt Chan in his white T-shirt walking by, and I'm like, great, that's Matt. I knew it. And I secretly took a photo of him and I DM'd him, and he's like, "Have you seen Min?" That's his response. He's always so nonchalant, and I'm like, "No, I haven't seen him." And he's like, "Damn." So we watched the film, and honestly, there were definitely a couple of moments where I dozed off, but only a couple of moments. The interesting thing is, in the Starman film set, somebody told us that, if I drink coffee and then take a 20-minute nap, power nap, and then wake up, then you'll be extremely energized. If you drink coffee and don't take a nap, you won't be energized. For some reason, that's how it works. And I know I'm watching a fucking movie, but because I drank some coffee and I dozed off in a couple of scenes, or like not dozed off completely, but like, did this for 2 scenes, the rest of the film, wide awake. It actually worked. And the 2 scenes I dozed off on, I kind of know what happens, so it wasn't a huge loss. So I ended up kind of watching the whole thing. And then Q&A, but the downside to that is, for some reason, I got really wanted to pee. And so, but I also don't want to pee during the film. So I waited the film to end, and then the Q&A started, and I'm like, damn, I have to wait half an hour for the Q&A. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I left, and I told one of the staff outside of the theater. Turns out you can get a ticket and say, "Oh, I'll be back." And then I got the piece of paper that says I'll be back. And I went to the bathroom, I went back, I give them the piece of paper back, and then I went back in. So that was really nice. So yeah, there's a Q&A for Silent Friend. It's an okay film, which is sad because I really wanted to like this film. But yeah, I saw Matt and Min afterwards. I just went up to them and I was like, "Hello." And then we just talked a little bit about the film. And because Matt and Min are way closer to each other, so they talk more and I just stay quiet awkwardly. So their plan is to go to In-N-Out together, and my original idea is to immediately go home, but I thought, you know what, sure. I also saw Joshua Da Silva, so that's that. Who just watched Mirrors number 3, or yeah, he just watched Mirrors number 3. But yeah, I ended up following Min in Min's car, and we got to In-N-Out, and we got drive-through. I ordered animal-style fries, and we just talked a little bit in the car. And throughout the entire ride, I was really observing, or like hearing what Matt and Min are talking about. And it's really interesting that they're either talking about films or they're talking about petty drama, which is normal for college students to do that, but it's kind of revelating to know that Matt, who I barely see as a human being, also talking shit about other people, which makes a lot of sense, but also doesn't make a lot of sense. And they're especially making fun of like Asir, who is apparently hated by a lot of people. Apparently Asir and Oli, the trans Asian girl whom I worked with for a day a whole year ago. Apparently they had a thing for a while, but now something happened and Oli hates her, or Oli hates him, and apparently Asir never made a movie, and Matt and Min were laughing at him about that. So that was kind of funny. I mentioned how I went to Asir's room to help him edit, but I actually didn't really help him edit. So there's that. It's funny how even Elizabeth has a short film coming. So, yeah, I got the fries, and then the most interesting moment was when they were talking about Garrett, and they're like, "Oh, Garrett's he's my nephew. He's like 19, he's so young." And I'm like, "He's 19?" And then Min was like, "How about you? You're like 18, 19?" And I'm like, "No." And then I revealed I'm 23, and they were both like, "What?" And I'm shocked that Matt doesn't know, because Matt has known me since for 1.5 years, and he just found out that I'm 23. I definitely have told him about this already. Like, I know that Matt is a year older than me, and I know that he's 24. So he should probably know that I'm 23. So this is so, I was like, how can you not know? I guess it's really because of how I act in front of them, like how skinny and dainty and awkward and silly I am in front of people. Like, I don't give off 23-year-old aura. But it's so interesting because Jiren thinks I'm really old. Jiren says I radiate mature vibes. And I think that's because I'm a different person in front of Jiren. I'm more commanding and more stable. So it's really interesting. It's all performance. Because I feel like even though Colin and Garrett are all younger than me, when I talk to them, it's like talking to peers. In fact, it's almost like talking to someone above me because they're both more connected than me, or at least that's how it feels. Or not connected, but maybe stylish, right? But in reality, they're both younger than me and maybe more immature than me. So it's all about performance, perhaps. But yeah, we ate the fries, and then Min dropped me and Matt off. Matt went up to watch What Does This Nature Say to You? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go home. For a split second, I thought about staying. Because at that point, it was 3:30 p.m. And my next film, Testament of Annalee, starts at 8:15. So I had about 5 hours. I could stay for 5 hours with nothing to do. Or I could go home, spend a whole hour, go home, wait 2 hours, and then spend another whole hour coming back. Either way, it's fucking stupid. But going home is less stupid because at least I can go home and take a rest. So Matt was like, you should go home, and I'm like, yeah. So I spent a whole hour going back home. Boom, boom, boom. So I did that, and yeah, it is what it is. I went back home, I took a shower, I chilled, I edited my trailer for a little bit, and then I realized that I have to go again. So at 6:45, I left. Took the bus, went to the metro station again. It's my third time being there. It's so annoying. It's like, this is like Cannes Film Festival again. Except in Cannes, it's somehow easier because getting to Lumiere takes half an hour. To Chinese theater, it takes an hour and 15 minutes from my home. So that's really stupid. So anyways, I spent a whole hour going back, and on my way, I actually started to formulate an outline for the Empire, and this time around, I'm using the scene number tactic. I told myself I can only write 14 scenes, and because of that very specific restriction, I was able to map out the storyline, the outline really fast, and holy shit, I'm so proud of myself. This looked really good. And I didn't say the same thing for Cezanne, but I'm saying this for the Empire. I know it's good shit. I know it's fucking good shit. But yeah, I arrived maybe, so Annalee was 8:45, I think. No, 8:15 p.m. And I arrived at around 7:50. And I thought it should be okay because the lines are usually not that bad. I found an entrance. Turns out that one is for pass holders. So the woman told me to go to another line, and Camden's there. So I went to that line. Turns out it's a really long line that wraps around a circle. And I found Camden, and then turns out everyone in line is holding a piece of paper that has a number on it. So I'm like, damn. So I went to the back end of the line and received a number 127. So I waited, and then I walked, and then we all went into the theater, thankfully. For a moment, I thought I would not be able to get in, even though I got the tickets, but it's fine. It all worked out at the end. I saw Camden. Camden saved 4 spots, 1 spot for Brennan, and I saved a spot for Min. So all 4 of us, we watched Testament of Anne Lee together. Not gonna lie, 2 scenes or maybe 3 scenes, I was dozing off. But I was wide awake in the last hour or last 40 minutes maybe. But yeah, the movie's okay. So unfortunately, out of the 4 films I've seen in this festival, none of them are great. Out of the 2 films I've seen in Beyond Fest, one of them is great, except it's a rewatch. So from both festivals, I did not watch anything that blew my mind. But I'm glad I watched it in the theater. It is a very good theater film. But yeah, it wasn't great. And then after the film, we decided to spend like 40 minutes standing outside the theater and just chat about movies. And I was just really tired. But we talked about movies, we talked about the film we just watched. And yeah, lots and lots of discussion. We started hating on the movie. Honestly, I don't think Anne Lee's that bad, but it's not that great either. But yeah, and then Camden drove me home, and then I talked to Camden a lot. Turns out there's so many things I've never revealed about myself. Like, I've never told them that I minored in religion, and they also don't, like, or at least they're not clear that I'm in my senior year and I'm about to graduate. And yeah, and I always realize that I don't tell people a lot about what I'm going through. Yeah, anyways, I went back home, and then I had dinner at 1:30 a.m. and now it's 4:30, so that's great. I can sleep tomorrow, so I'm really excited. And side note, I texted Audrey, the Asian girl, quite a bit today, just planning what to do on Tuesday. Matt and Min, they were really talking a lot about relationships, because Matt's with a white girlfriend. Min also has a white girlfriend. And then they were just talking about how Asir has, like, weird relationships, and Arjun has, like, a new girlfriend every month, which is shocking. I thought Arjun's dating Emma, but I guess they're just friends. I don't think they're talking about a different Arjun. And then they talked about Garrett and how, oh, Garrett has hoes too. And Min was like, really? Matt was like, really? And Min was like, yeah, because Garrett's hose is the same hose as Jack's hose. And then they talked about little bros. Like, Garrett has a little bro. Like, someone even younger than him. And then Min asked me if I have a little bro. And I'm like, yeah, I guess. And I'm thinking about Justin T. Because he's younger. He's just a sophomore kid. And I make him watch movies with me. And then Min asked me if I'm in a relationship, which is a very random question. It's a very valid question, but I don't get asked this very often. I think a lot of people just assume that I'm aro ace. And I'm like, no. And he's like, why? And I'm like, oh, I'm just not into anyone right now. But yeah, it's just, I can't even tell anyone that I've never dated. It's just such an embarrassing truth. And that made me want to text Audrey, the Asian girl. And I don't really know why. I'm not even that into her. I guess the ugly thing to say would be me talking to Audrey, the Asian girl, fills in the void that Jayan left. And the good side of thing to say is, well, if it's not Audrey, the Asian girl, I don't know who else should I be talking to. Should I be talking to Jayan? No. Who else? You know? Aside from Jayan and Audrey, the Asian girl, I can't think of another girl who's, like, talking to me a lot. Like, I don't know. So, yeah, and Audrey, the Asian girl, I don't really have much for her, honestly, but I also barely know her. I don't even know why she's doing film. I've known her for 1.5 years, and I don't even know why she's majoring in film. And the other good thing is despite the fact that she's really busy, I get to see her every week. She's in my class. and we sit together. And that's good because that's stability. So anyways, we talked about watching movies on Tuesday, and we kind of finalized a plan. As it turns out, Audrey's only really free from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., which is not a lot. I'm free the whole day. And she wanted to watch One Battle. But somehow in the AMC The Grove and a Lamo Draft House, One Battle isn't playing at 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. And so I was like, you know what? How about Bugonia at AMC The Grove? And he's like, sure. So chances are, 2 days later, I'll be heading over to AMC The Grove to watch Bugonia with Audrey. And I told her that it's just going to be the two of us. Just to give her a heads up. And the Criterion shelf is there. I wish I could do this with Gyron. I wish I could just geek out at a Criterion shelf with Gyron. But that is to assume that Gyron can't just collect a bunch of guys and have them offer their own Criterions to her, as if that didn't happen already. Yeah. If Gyron wants men, she can get them in a snap of a finger, you know. But yeah, I'm gonna go to bed now.